All right, time to respond to this YouTuber, Echo Chamberlain. He tries to address the issues men have with getting their writings published and boys reading, but he fails. And so this is a critique of what you have to say, Echo Chamberlain. Now we'll start right here.
The gender disparity in fiction is bordering on farcical. 83% of marketing, 92% of publicity, and 78% of editorial staff in Britain's publishing industry are female.
There it is in a nutshell. The percentage of editorial staff. What it is, Echo Chamberlain, is women do not like men. They get into these positions of authority and then they gatekeep it from men. That's what's going on here. If you don't call this out, you are a part of the problem.
About three-quarters of new titles in fiction are by female authors. A poll of the American publishing industry found 77% of publishing staff were female, including 6 in 10 at executive or board level. When the Women's Prize for Fiction was launched in 1996, it was badly needed.
There you go. He's giving in to their false framing. It was not badly needed. It was not badly needed. Shirley Jackson, famous author, female author. How long ago was that? Way before 1996. How about the Bronte sisters? Super famous. How long ago did they write? Right? Forever ago. So you are now giving into their false framing. If women can write a great story, they get published.
Back then, female writers found it hard to get their work published. To illustrate how
All you're saying is they couldn't compete with men.
farcical the current literary landscape has become, the circumstances at commercial and award level are now worse for men than they were for women when they felt compelled to bandy together to launch a women's only literary prize out of frustration at being marginalized.
They weren't being marginalized. See, you are part of the problem. They, those women were never marginalized. How come Shirley Jackson made it? How come the Bronte sisters made it?
When the Pulitzer Prize-winning author Elizabeth Strout criticized women's domination of the fiction market, she found herself on the receiving end of a social media pile-on. She
Really? So what was her critique? Are you going to mention what it is? I bet you don't.
was advancing a notion that few people in the world of publishing are willing to do. Most fiction editors, those who have the power to buy up manuscripts, are middle-class, white, left-leaning women.
Let me cut to the chase. They're women. That's it. Because who's being left out in the cold? Guys. Are you suggesting if they were right-leaning women or if they were lower class, they would be friendlier to men? Nonsense. Nonsense.
This new breed of publishers and agents, with their similar cultural tastes and political perspectives, are increasingly commissioning works from authors similar to themselves. In Britain,
Yeah, other women. That's right. They have an in-group bias towards themselves, to other women, but they're also hostile to men. That's the more important part. Because there's a difference between favoring someone and actually wanting to keep someone out.
there are no recognizable heirs to the likes of Martin Amis, Julian Barnes, Ian McEwan, and Salman Rushdie. The same is true in the US, where long gone are the likes of Saul Bellow, Philip Roth, and John Updike. Booker Prize winner John Banville recently criticized this current suspicion about white straight men, and added, "I would not like to be starting out now, certainly. It's very difficult." Nowhere, whenever an article is written about the almost farcical lurch in the other direction, does any commentator even
It's not the other direction. You're suggesting women were being kept down in the past. They weren't. You were part of the problem.
think to wonder if the prior disproportionality, always considered a shortcoming of publishing, could be even a mild issue replicated the other way. Wherever there are graphs showing demographic
Not the other way, dude.
breakdowns of the industry, commentators will roundly criticize the lack of representation of minorities, but say nothing about the astoundingly out of whack gender disparity, which is staring them right in the face. There is a
Of course, because the minorities that the feminists that have control of the publishing, industry, they use minorities as a shield so they can keep men out of all races.
slightly priggish blind spot. The latest Booker Prize shortlist includes just one man. Over the past 5 years, The Observer's annual debut novelist feature has showcased 44 writers, 33 of whom were female. Either male authors have gotten worse, or white female authors have gotten better, or were always better all along, or white middle-class left-leaning women have become disproportionately represented in publishing and promote white middle-class left-leaning women. Right?
Then why are they only keeping out men then? Again, you keep saying that they're left-leaning and that they're middle class. Like, you do realize that impoverished black women say black men ain't shit. So again, you're a part of the problem, dude. Now, modern fiction is boring and hyper feminized. So you're basically saying women are boring writers. Whether you meant to say that or not, that's what this title says, dude. Now let's. Too many women. What's wrong with that, dude?
Many women. When men dominated the industry, traits among male writers must have been frequently frustrating to women. Chauvinistic
No, they weren't, because women just wouldn't read those. Women could still get their stories out, right? Right? So there was no reason for women to be frustrated, dude. They were still being published if they were good enough.
writing, a boys' club mentality, depictions of women and narratives, critical marginalization,
If it's a boys' club's mentality, how did women manage to conquer? Right? You get that?
a boys' club mentality, depictions of women and narratives,
Yeah. How did women manage to conquer? Men would always keep them out, right? No. Men love to have women around. When a woman shows up, a man gives her a position, and the first thing she does is she starts getting other women in there. And once there's enough women, once the women outnumber the men, they keep men out entirely. That's what's going on here. And that's what you should be saying, Echo Chamberlain.
critical marginalization of certain voices, and more. But the modern publishing industry, somewhat obtusely, cannot get its head around the idea that the door might swing both ways, and that
There is no both ways. Stop saying that. Stop committing to that falsehood. Now it says 3 reasons for failing boys. They're not failing boys. They're keeping them out. They're discriminating against them. That's what's going on here, dude.
not only in the work, but also in literary circles and aesthetic subcultures defined by critical acclaim and cultural relevance. Women make up about 80% of fiction buyers, 3/4 of literary agents, 80% of marketing, and almost 80% of editorial roles in the publishing world.
There you go. 80% of editorial roles. It's not just the buying. They're the buyers because the editors keep the male story writers out. And so stories that interest men aren't on the shelves. And that's where the buyers come from. Man, It's hard to educate these guys. Now, you bring up a critique of what you see on the shelves for women. Let's see what they are.
Of hell. Absurdly gigantic and glossy paperbacks with exotic splashes of primary colors. And the worst culprit of all? In the realm of World War II chick lit novels, follow a generic heroine, independent, challenging social conventions, and most importantly, facing away. Sometimes the woman will be facing away while standing on a balcony in
That's right. Why is she always facing away? Because the women are solipsistic. It's all about themselves, right? So it's an insert. It's like this woman, you don't want to see her face because then the woman would see it's not her. No, this is someone who's supposed to be the female reader, whoever buys it. This is her. And notice she's always upper class by the clothing. She's always in a an exotic locale, right? A beautiful city. So it's all about status.
Paris. Other times, she will be facing away on a balcony in London. Sometimes, the woman will be facing away on a balcony overlooking Paris, but she will have red hair, and there
Yeah. She's always alone too, right? There's no one else around. This is her world, right?
will be fighter planes in the sky. Other times, she will be facing away on a street in Paris with fighter planes in the sky. Or, in London, facing away while crossing a bridge while fighter planes are in the sky. And sometimes, she will be on a London street, facing away, looking ahead at two other women who are also facing away. But
Yeah, there's no men in here, right? Women do not like men, dude, right? So let's get past that. I understand, right? Like, oh yes, he shows you how many women are in charge of the industry, of the publishing industry, right?
But outside what might be pertinent or relatable to women in such things is too easily registered as upsetting and therefore not permissible in the eyes of agents. About three-quarters of literary agencies are exactly the same, to the point of it being almost caricature. An aging dame of a founder who set up the agency in the 80s, 5 or 6 cosmopolitan, progressive women in their 30s, at least one of whom will state they are actively looking for woman-centric stories.
Exactly. Look at all those women in charge, and they tell you openly they weren't looking for women-centric stories. They keep men out. It's not simply a preference for women's stories. They are keeping the door closed on men.
Compelling heroines and feminist perspectives. And
Yeah, feminist perspective. That's good. Feminism is a hate group. So can you imagine the KKK having control of the publishing industry and all the black authors, they're saying, geez, I'm having such a hard time getting published. I don't understand, right?
one male agent who was likely only interested in non-fiction submissions. In a contemporary, female-dominated publishing world, the abiding frustration from a mainstream male perspective is the constant, tedious ubiquity of heart. Narratives where
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, men and women have differing, likes. That's true. But the point is, it's not that there's so much out there for women, it's that there's none for men. See, this is the issue you should be pointing out.
stylishness and defiance of convention have an allure. Martin Amis and Ian McEwan often explored darker, more experimental territory, with Amis's satirical edge and McEwan's emotional and moral complexities appealing, at its height, to the young male reader seeking depth and originality.
Now, that's very damning what you just said inadvertently about the opposite sex. Depth and originality is appealing to guys. Ergo, that isn't appealing to female readers. I mean, that's what you're saying, even though you didn't mean to say that.
The writing of such authors often centers around male protagonists or complex portrayals of masculinity, identity, and moral conflict, which can resonate deeply with young men.
Moral conflict. Now that's interesting you said that. So if moral conflict is interesting to the male reader, you're suggesting unintentionally that it's not interesting to the female reader. And I would say that you're right. If you all those covers you showed, where's the moral confrontation there, right? There's none. Whatever the girl does is good.
Men in particular, and offer them a way to explore gender, power, and existential concerns that may be of great importance to them, a form of intellectual initiation into something more exciting and transgressive than mainstream literature. Irvin Welsh, especially with Trainspotting, became the poster child for countercultural fiction in the 90s. His works explored the grimy side of life in post-industrial Scotland, depicting
Yeah, exactly. The grimy side of life. And if you look at those covers, the women aren't interested in the grimy side of life. They want an upper class, they want a story of an upper class woman living a high lifestyle. That's what they want. That's true. Now, I'll get into this last one here. How to get boys to love writing again. Why are you even asking such a question? It's not that boys don't love writing, it's that they're being kept out. They're being kept out, right? Again, it's like it's not that people are failing boys, they're discriminating against them. Let's see if I can find it here. I'll be right there. Yeah, let's hear this.
competitions the way they are, and why would I want to be part of something like that? Firstly, we've got to have substantially less middle-aged women judges. They have little to no context for allusions boys might want to make about NPC energy.
Now take a look at this, right? First prize, second prize, third prize. Honorable mention, all girls. So female judges automatically pick female authors. They discriminate against boy writers. They keep them out. So you think if this is happening at the school level, and you can see it's happening at the publishing level. So that's what's going on here. And again, they try to say that we're failing boys, right? As opposed to what's really going on is they're keep making sure boys fail, right? So that's the issue I have with you, dude. Echo Chamberlain, you're bringing up this issue, but you give these false framings. You tried to say that women were discriminated against, which they never were. They just can't compete with male writers on the whole. The exceptional ones are just that, exceptional. But they can still make it, if they have the merit. Because men don't keep women out. If men kept women out, you would never have seen the women conquering the publishing industry. They wouldn't have conquered it. They would have been kept out. So that's what my issue I have with you, Echo Chamberlain. Now we'll end it here.